come into play, the way they're able to manufacture runs, the way that the small ball has kind of returned to the, to really the makeup of this group offensively, the impact of the speed of Chandler Simpson and some of the drivability and hard hit ability of Jonathan Aranda and Yandy Diaz, and encouraged by what we saw from Taylor Walls and his impact offensively in this series as well. So really encouraged. I think, look, if you look at the momentum the Rays have been building, did you think going into the weekend they'd sweep the Yankees? Probably not. They did. Do you hope going into this road series that they can, take the series, maybe sweep against the White Sox, set themselves up for a pretty good matchup against a much improved Pittsburgh team and facing old friends in Brandon Lau and Jake Mangum over the weekend, of course. So look, I think it's all about this team. Pitching's got to be there, and that's obviously going to be a question with some of the injuries. But I really like the identity of this team and how they've come out of that series against New York.
Ray sideline reporter Ryan Bass with us on the Nick Wize Show. There's so many things that you mentioned there that I kind of want to touch up on. The return of Taylor Walls. I've been a Taylor Walls cheerleader. I felt like this team needed him. For people that maybe aren't Taylor Walls fans, how important is he to this team? Because I think he's just, not just defensively, but all of a sudden the guy can hit the ball. He's on a tear right now.
There's a lot of Taylor Walls haters out there, and those folks, I question if they watch Rays games consistently. And I can understand the frustrations with maybe the lack of offensive production we've seen from Walsey in years past. And look, he holds himself to a higher standard of accountability there as well. But there is no questioning how important he is to what this team does each and every day from a defensive perspective, how good he is in the field. And he is one of the most elite defenders in baseball. He should have 1 or 2 gold gloves already under his belt if he wasn't so underrated and overlooked by the rest of the baseball world. But I think what you're seeing with him offensively, and we've talked a little bit about this, in the clubhouse with him, he's kind of leaning more into this mentality of being somewhat of that small ball guy and really trying to be able to move guys over and be a part of this offense, not put too much pressure on himself. He mentioned in years past he would get up there and put pressure on himself to try to perform in those situations. And I think he's just leaning into what his value is to this squad, which is being a guy who can help manufacture runs, but is there to play a premium position and play it better than anyone in the game, arguably. And I think Taylor Walls does that. So if he can give you anything offensively, I consider that a plus. But really encouraging to see how quickly he came back from that oblique injury and how he's swinging it. He's got a couple extra base hits. He's dropped down some really key bunts and sack bunts that ended up being hits. So, I think he's really finding his groove offensively. And I think that's a really good thing for how this team is structured.
Yeah, the bunt game for Taylor Walls has been just on point. He's come through at the plate. I mean, look, he started off with the double on opening day. And then he went through a little bit of a slump, and then he got right back on, and he had a great series against the Yankees. So I was happy to see that as a Taylor Walls guy. What you've been around the team a lot since the Yankee series. Now you guys are in Chicago. What's the vibe of the team been? After sweeping the Yankees at home, which was a big series going forward.
The flight here was a very happy flight, and understandably so. I mean, guys are positive, guys are juiced. I mean, when you think about what the team just accomplished, and the Yankees are on a slide, and they did get that comeback win last night in that epic battle between Trout and Judge and the back and forth action between New York and LA. But I think what you take away from that New York series is how this team was able to. Their bullpen, by the way, looked outstanding outside of maybe a pitch or two to a specific guy, right? The way they played defensively, they really cleaned some things up. After that first inning in the series opener against New York, they were pretty flawless defensively. They manufactured runs. They're annoying. I was talking with BA on the flight about this yesterday. It's like this offense it's kind of like it bugs you, right? Like it really forces you to pay attention. It forces you to always be on alert with the way they basically blister you in small ball style. And I think that's great. And look, really encouraging with what Chandler Simpson has done to start this year. He's taken a lot of the information of getting on base and he's lived it, right? And he's been better defensively too. So I think there's a lot of encouraging signs, and the vibe right now could not be higher for this group. And I think given where they were after the first 2 series on the road, you can see how confidently they're playing baseball. They were confident that things would turn around from a bullpen perspective. The offense could keep producing the way that it is. So, you go into the series against the White Sox, thinking and assuming you're going to at least take the series. And that starts with having a good one tonight with Shane on the mound.
The White Sox, they've kind of had the Rays number, at least last year, and they were playing bad baseball last year. They're kind of continuing that stretch. I believe they're under 200 batting average as a team, the only team in Major League Baseball under 200 as a team. What is it about the White Sox that they just kind of have the Rays number? Do the Rays just kind of play down to their competition? We're talking to Ryan Bass, Rays sideline reporter right now. Why do you think Chicago just continues to have the Rays number?
It's funny. There's sometimes these teams, right, that just kind of irk you and bug you. And I remember in the 2023 season when the Rays had that historic start, they finished the month of April in Chicago. I was on that trip, and they lost 2 of 3, I believe, to Chicago. This could be escaping me, but I remember the final game of that series where it was a grand slam in the ninth. The Rays were up like 4 runs, grand slam in the ninth inning, and the White Sox ended up walking off the Rays. And I remember just the sour taste that put in everybody's mouth after such a great start to that month. And it just seems like they've just been a thorn in the Rays' side. And sometimes it's unexplainable, Nick. Like sometimes these teams just they play you hard and they're effective against you. Now, I think given the way this team's makeup is and the improvements they've shown from a Rays perspective, I think this could be a series you go into feeling pretty confidently. But yeah, last year obviously they played them tough, and I expect them to play tough in this series, but it's going to be on the Rays to be creative with the way they're using their pitching staff and take advantage of some things offensively, and I think they could do that.
Ryan Bass, the Rays sideline reporter, with us on the Nick Wize Show this afternoon. Shane McClanahan going to get the start tonight against the White Sox. I feel like this is his first true game, and we were talking about this on opening day. Not really a high-pressure moment. Do you think we'll see more pitches from Shane McClanahan tonight? What do you think that number is for Kevin Cash?
Look, I think it's all dependent. Look, they're going to be really careful with Mac, and understandably so, right? He expects more of himself. He's been really hard on himself after the last 2 outings, to start the season. And by the way, you know, as he's admitted, you don't expect to roll out of bed and be back to the guy you were 2 years ago. And there's signs. There's really encouraging signs. And even talking with Kyle Snyder, before the series finale against New York, we brought up Mac, and he talked about the fastball velocity is going to be able to continue to tick up, right? They're confident in him regaining a lot of what it is, but it's really about finding that durability, right, for Mac, and really being able to lean. He even admitted being a little bit gassed in that opening start, right? And I think that just comes with going through the routines, going through the midweek bullpens, the preparation up to your starts. So to answer your question today, 5 innings is what you're looking at, right? If you can get through 5 clean innings, that's a success, right? And I think you'll continue to build that up. Remember last year with Drew Rasmussen, he pitched 5 innings exclusively up until really the last month or so of the season, where they started stretching him out to 6. I expect them to follow that same game plan with Shane McClanahan as they build him up. But you love the competitor that he is. You love the way he wants to compete and go out there and throw his best stuff every game. And I think we're closer and getting closer and closer to seeing that 2-time All-Star version of Shane as he continues to get more built up and be more confident every time he gets out there. I shouldn't say confident. He's always confident when he gets on the mound, but see those results lead to more confidence, right? Every time he steps out there for the Rays. So I'm excited to see Mac give it a go today.
It's Ryan Bass, the Rays sideline reporter. He's up in Chicago. The White Sox series starts tonight, 7:40 on Rays TV. I'll get you out on this. I was walking the dogs with my wife last night, and I told her you were going to be on the show, and I said, I want to give him a word that he has to use during the broadcast. And I said, what should that word be? And she came up with pineapple. So we want to see you try to work pineapple into the game tonight. Can you make that happen?
Okay, I can try. Sometimes guys eat some pretty unique snacks in between at bats. We saw Richie Palacios the other day munching on a banana in between at bats. I know Yandy seems to do the same thing. I can try. Right?
I told her, I said they're going to think we're swingers with pineapple, but I was like, I'm going to go with it.
That might be a tougher one, but I'll see what I could. If you give me a word that's a little bit more usable in everyday life, and I can work it into a report, that's probably not too easy. But it's look, it's an inside thing. I've always been a huge fan growing up in Miami of the Levitard show, right? And they used to always kind of give words to announcers to sneak in. I'm okay with playing that game here, but pineapple might be a tough one.
All right, Ryan. We'll be watching tonight. We'll be waiting for pineapple. I appreciate your time today. Enjoy Chicago, and hopefully the Rays can get 3 more against the White Sox here.
Always, Nick. Appreciate you having me on. Anytime you need me, brother, I'm always here, and hopefully we're when we get to catch up later on this week, we've looked at a sweep here against the White Sox. Let's hope for it.
Sounds good, brother. And enjoy Friday off. What are you, BA, and Dwayne going to do on Friday?
Yeah, it's an Apple TV game, so our broadcast will be off, and my girlfriend and her daughter are actually coming to Pittsburgh. So I've never been to Pittsburgh before,
Awesome.
so it'll be a cool experience. I think we're going to the Pittsburgh Zoo, which I hear is a pretty cool endeavor. So when you got a 4-year-old with you, you kind of placate to what they want to do. So I'll be playing bonus dad on Friday, but I'm looking forward to it.
There you go. Ryan Bass, Rays Sideline Report. Appreciate your time, Ryan, and we'll talk again soon, and hopefully the Rays can get 3 more dubs here against the White Sox. Appreciate your time on a Tuesday. It is the Nick Wize Show. We'll be right back. I want to get into the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 3 players that could be drafted by the Bucs at pick 15. We'll get into that coming up next.